today I'm going to show you how to make this tennis bracelet style necklace. And it lays really nice. So usually if you make just a singular tennis style necklace, it likes to flip forward. I've even bought some that's just a singular crystal all the way around, and the way it was set, it would just flip forward or twist. So this, I've designed it so it lays out flat against your neck, and it lays really nice. So let's get a closer look at this so you can see what the units look like. It's really pretty. Lays on the neck really nice, looks really nice on. And you can do this any way you'd like. I've done this in 2 colors. You can do it in 1 color. You can change the way you put your colors on if you use more than one. And you can do this in crystal, or you can do it in Firepolish, which you can also make look kind of crystally. So let's go ahead and discuss that further and look at the material list. For this project today, we will be using 11/0 and 15/0 seed beads. These are Toho. They are the galvanized aluminum permanent finish seed beads. So, like I said, 11/0 and 15/0. Then we will be using some 4x4 cuboid crystals. However, if you cannot get a hold of cuboid crystals, which I will tell you in a minute where to get them, you can use Firepolish beads. Now this one is a 4mm round Firepolish bead. It's an opaque. You can get them crystally too. You can get them in all kinds of beautiful finishes. So this, what I have on hand, is kind of an opaque, but as you can see, it's pretty much the same shape as the cuboid crystal. The cuboid has a little bit more faceting. However, again, this one's opaque. So you can get some beautiful check Firepolish beads, 4mm round, and it'll work just fine in this design. So do not feel like you cannot do this design. I try to make my designs available to everyone. If you cannot get the particular bead I'm using, I will give you a substitution, and the 4mm Firepolish bead will be your substitution. And like I said, you can get them at any major supplier online. Most beading stores carry them. They're very easy to find, and they come in all kinds of beautiful finishes. They look like crystal. There's just all kinds of finishes. So these 4x4mm cuboid crystals I get from budgetbeadbox.com. However, because I've done several designs, and because the owner, Shirley, is only one person, there is a little bit of a shortage on them. She's ordered more. She will have them, and it takes her a little while to get some of the orders out sometimes because she gets overwhelmed after I do a video. However, if you want them, then that's where you will go, and they are just gorgeous little beads. And I'm going to be using 2 colors today. I'm going to be using royal blue, and I'm going to be using cornflower blue. I am using 2 simply because I don't have 2 strands of either one. So I'm going to combine them. Now I don't have them all out right now. The strands come in about 100 a strand. So I don't have them all out, but I'm going to use 2 just to make sure I have enough. You can use all one color if you'd like. And there's a couple of ways you can arrange the colors if you want to use more than one color. So I will show you all of that. Then we will be using a lobster claw clasp and a closed jumpring. If you want to put a pretty little decoration at the end, you may want to have a couple of head pins on hand. I have some ball head pins. These are also available from Shirley at Budget Bead Box. Then I'm going to be using 10-pound Nanofil. You can also use 8-pound Nanofil, or you can use 4 or 6-pound Fireline. Don't go above 6 pound because you need to go through these beads a lot, and you want to be able to do that easily. I'm using a size 12 beading needle. This is an English beading needle, and I am using the John James brand English beading needle. And we will start by putting about a wingspan, maybe 2 if you can handle that much thread, onto your needle to start. You will need to extend your Fireline or Nanofil during this project, so I will link a video that shows you how to do that in the information box below the video player. A wingspan is when you put your arms out side to side. You measure the length of your first arm from your fingertips, the length of your first arm across your chest, the length of the second arm to your fingertips on that arm. That is a wingspan. We will begin with that amount and go ahead and put that on your needle and we'll get started. To start this project, you will pick up a 4mm crystal or a Firepolish bead, and then you will pick up an 11/0 seed bead, and then the other color, if you're using two colors, of your Cuboid crystals, and then, or Firepolish bead, and then pick up another 11/0 seed bead. We're going to bring this down to the end of the thread. Leave yourself, probably about 4 inches, just enough so we can extend it if we need to put a clasp on that end. And I can't tell you exactly because I have not decided exactly how I want to do this yet. So let's go ahead and leave a 4-inch tail, and then that's enough to extend if we need to, and then we can go up through the first crystal, just like this. And we're going to pull these beads down into something that looks like this. Then we're going to sew back through this. Now this is the same unit we used in the easiest tennis bracelet. However, we're going to put them together a little differently than we did in that bracelet. So now we're just going to sew back through all of these crystals, or all of these beads, excuse me. When you get to the point to where your tail thread and your working thread meet, just tie an overhand knot. So I'm just going to tie a knot and make sure that knot goes down between my 11/0 seed bead and my crystal. And I think I'll tie one more, and that will just secure our first unit and allow us to work without it coming out. Now you want to make sure your knot remains between the crystal and the 11/0 seed bead. You don't want it to go into the crystal or the 11/0. Then we're just going to sew up through that 11/0. Don't pull hard because you'll pull your knot through the 11/0. If you do, just pull on the tail a little and then go up through this crystal here and then into the 11/0 seed bead. And now we are prepared for our next unit. In the bracelet, we did our next units through the crystal. Now we're going to do our next units through the 11/0 seed bead. And I want mine to be a checkered look. So every time I make my next unit, I'm going to pick up the opposite color of the one I'm coming out towards. So I am coming out towards my lighter color bead, so that means my thread is aimed that way. I'm going to pick up my dark color bead, an 11/0 seed bead, and a dark color, and then a light colored bead, excuse me. Just like that. That will position it so that I get a checkerboard type look. So I'll have my light, dark, light, dark. So now I'm going to go through the 11/0 seed bead on the opposite side from which I'm coming out. And I'm going to pull these beads down. Now you can, if you would like, and it would be pretty also, you can do all one color on one side and all one color on the other side. That would also be very nice. I actually think that that might even be prettier than this. But since I started this way, we'll do it this way. And if you're going to do it all one color, then just make sure you pick up the same color of bead as where the thread is coming out. So if you're coming out this way and you want it to be the same color as the bead on this side, then pick up that color. Otherwise, pick up the opposite color of the bead that your thread is coming out on that side of. Now let's go ahead and sew through this entire unit. And once I get back to my connecting bead right here, my 11-0 seed bead, I then need to sew through the crystal and the 11-0 to get in position for my next unit. So I'm just going to turn my piece, go through the crystal, and go through the 11-0. So basically you're sewing through 1.5 times. Then I'm coming out this way next to a light crystal, so I'll pick up a dark crystal, and I'll pick up an 11-0 seed bead, and I'll pick up a light crystal, and then I will go back into the 11-0 on the opposite side from which I'm coming out. So let's get a little bit closer and go into this side right here and pull the crystals down. And now you can see my colors are going light, 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 dark, dark, dark. So I'm getting kind of a checkerboard type look. Now I'm going to turn this way. And I'm going to sew back through all of these beads until I get to my connecting bead here, and then sew through the crystal here and the 11-0 here. And then I'll do the same thing again. I'm coming out towards my light color, I'll pick up a dark color, I'll pick up an 11-0, and I'll pick up a light color, and go into the opposite side of the bead from which I am exiting. And again, sew through all the beads. So I'll sew through this crystal, the 11-0, this crystal, and my connecting 11-0, and then through the crystal. And now I will sew back through the 11-0. Get back in camera, sorry about that, back off, and we'll do one more since I decided to run around with my hands here. Let's pick up a dark crystal because we're coming out towards the light crystal, pick up an 11-0 seed bead, and pick up a light crystal. And then go through the opposite side of the 11-0. And then sew through the crystals, this 11-0, this crystal, and into this 11-0 here. And then we need to sew through this one to get back to this one. And this is what we're going to do. This is very repetitive, and we're just going to continue doing this until we have 82 units. So each doubling of your beads is a unit divided by an 11-0 seed bead. So you can count them, or you can measure them to the length you want and make 1 unit over that length, because they're going to cinch down a little and you're going to lose some length. You're going to also add some with your clasping. So what I've done is I've made mine 18 inches long, and then I made another unit. And then when I add my clasping, I'll be sure to get around an 18-inch necklace, because that is the length I want. So you may have to modify yours to be the length that you desire. Of course, if you have a very small neck, you want to make it about 16 inches, so you make less units. You just can measure it either on a bead board or with a ruler. Either way is fine. If you want a larger necklace, you may want to make it 20 inches plus a unit. Now, I'm coming out of the very last unit here. Let's get close. Let's move some of this stuff back. And we're going to put the clasp on one side, and then we're going to start an embellishment. Now, you may need to extend your Fireline during this process here. You may have already had to extend it. I've had to extend mine already too. So, like I said, that will be in the information box underneath the video player, a link how to do that. So what we're going to do now is we're going to pick up 2 11-0 seed beads and a crystal and an 11-0 and drop it down to our last 11-0 that we're coming out of here. Get you even closer and see if it'll focus here. And then you're going to pick up your clasp. I'm going to start with my jumpring and let's go ahead and start with the lobster claw. I'm just going to go through the loop, drop it down, and then I'm going to go through this first 11-0 and the crystal, just like this. And then I'm going to pull my thread through. Then I'm going to pick up 2 11-0 seed beads, and I'm going to go back through the 11-0 on the opposite side from which I started, right here. And I'm going to pull this thread through. Now, I am just going to sew back through this side. So I'm going to go back up, and I'm just going to secure this. So I'm going up through the crystal, the 2 11-0s, the crystal, the 11-0, and the clasping. And I'm going to push my needle through, pull my thread through, go around the clasp, back into the 11-0, and then into the 2 11-0s on this side. And see if I can pull that all back through. And then back into this 11-0. Go ahead and sew up through one more time to secure that, just like I just showed you, and we'll be back. Okay, so I have sewn back through and secured my lobster claw clasp, and now I'm coming out of this 11-0 seed bead here that we connected everything to. Now I'm going to go into this first crystal. This will be the top of my necklace that I'm going to start here. So, let's see. So what I'm going to do is I'm coming out of this crystal. I'm going to begin picking up 15-0 seed beads, and I'm going to slide from crystal to crystal. Let me back off a little here. So we're coming out of this crystal right here. We're going to slide into the very next crystal and put a 15-0 seed bead in between. Do not pull really hard. Just make sure there's no slack. And just pick up another 15-0, go into the next crystal, and continue all the way down. And as I said, don't worry about getting a lot of tension. Just make sure you have no slack between your beads. This is going to draw the top in together and kind of bring the bottom out a little bit, so we'll get a curve to our necklace. So go ahead and continue all the way down the entire length of the necklace till you get to the very last crystal, putting a 15-0 between all the crystals, and then we'll be back. Okay, so I have placed a 15-0 seed bead all the way around until the very end here. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and snip off this tail. I am not going to need it. So I'm going to snip that off. And I'm just going to grab my 15-0 seed bead and slide up into this crystal here. So that's my last 15-0 that I placed on one side of my beads. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it in a circle and just gently pull on my thread. I don't want to bunch anything. I want to make sure that I don't have any slack and that I'm drawing it into a circle, but I don't want it to bunch up. So you can pull this too tightly and really bunch it. So we're just going to kind of navigate how we're going to do this as we make our clasping up here and secure this situation. So pull it a little bit, make sure there's no slack, make sure you're getting a little bit of a curve, and then to secure it, we're going to tie a little knot on this thread bridge right here. So on the very end, after you've laid it out and after you've made sure that your thread is tight but not bunched, then you're going to go underneath this little thread bridge here and you're going to tie a knot. So just go underneath this thread bridge, grab your loop that you create, get you even closer so you can see the thread bridge and everything. Whoop. Come on, camera. Let's get clear. There we go. So you can see the thread bridge between the crystal and the 11-0, and I am just tying a knot on that thread bridge just to secure it. And then I'm going to go up into this 11-0 seed bead right here. And that way I'm not going to, as I put my clasping on, I'm not going to pull my middle too tight and bunch it up. You can pull it and bunch it all up even after you've secured it and made it pretty if you pull too tight. So tying the knot is going to help. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to just sew around this entire unit, making sure that it's secure, because when we made this first unit, or when I made my first unit here on this one, I didn't quite get it secure enough. So I'm going to go ahead and sew around it. Just once. So all I'm doing is going into the crystals, the 11-0 seed bead here, and the crystal here. Now, if you tied a nice secure knot, you shouldn't really have an issue. But I was working on this one separate of the one I showed you, so I may not have tied a nice tight knot. So this is the way you'll secure it if you have any issues. Just making sure that this end unit is not going to fall apart. Now we're going to do exactly the same thing we did on the other side. I'm going to pick up two 11-0 seed beads, and then I'm going to pick up a crystal, and then I'm going to pick up an 11-0 seed bead. I'm going to drop this down, and then I'm going to pick up my closed jump ring. Now, you can put on a toggle or whatever kind of clasp you want. Just sew through exactly like I'm doing on my clasping. So for a closed jump ring, you just sew into the jump ring, just like this. And then go down into the 11-0, the crystal, and exit the crystal, pull your thread through. And then we're going to pick up two 11-0 seed beads onto our needle again. And we're going to go into the opposite side of the 11-0 we started in here. Pull these beads down, and this is what you have. Sew through it again twice, just like I showed you on this side. Just sew back up through it and secure it twice, and we'll be back. Okay, so now I have sewn through and secured my clasping, my closed jump ring twice, and you can see what that looks like. And I'm coming out of this 11-0 seed bead here. I have my necklace arranged in a circle here so I can see that this is my outside area. You want to be coming out of your bead towards the outside of your necklace. If somehow you got turned around and you're coming back out through the inside, you're going to have to tie a knot and get yourself the right direction. Now we're going to go up into this crystal right here. So now we're coming out of this first crystal right here, and we can begin our outside embellishment. So we're going to pick up 11 seed beads on this one, and we're going to slide from crystal to crystal, just like we did on the other side with 15 O's. But this time, as I said, it's going to be an 11 seed bead. So just pick up an 11, slide into the next crystal, and pull the 11 down. And again, don't give it a ton of tension, but make sure there's no slack. And just continue placing 11 seed beads in between the crystals until you get all the way to the end of the necklace. So as you can see, I'm just sliding my needle through and placing 11 Let's do one more from crystal to crystal, and you can see how this looks so far. So go ahead and continue placing the 11 seed beads and get you close so you can see what it looks like. And we'll continue doing that all the way to the end, and then we'll be back. Okay, so I have finished my outside 11 embellishment, and I am coming out of this last crystal right here. So let's get you close so you can see. Now you want to, again, just lightly pull on that. Make sure that nothing benches. You want to make sure that everything is laying really pretty. And then we're going to go up into the 11 seed bead. So where I'm coming out is this last crystal right here. After putting this 11 seed bead in between these two crystals, I'm coming out of this one. And I'm just going to take my needle and go through this 11 seed bead right here. And again, as you pull, you can really tighten and bunch up the outside embellishment, so don't do that. Just bring it through, make sure everything looks good, and then right on this thread bridge right here, just go underneath it and let's tie a little knot. So I'm pulling this into a loop after going under the thread bridge, and then I will go through the loop with my needle. Well, come here. Just like that. And then I'm going to pull a knot down on that thread bridge. Make sure it stays between the 11 seed bead and the crystal right here. And then I will go down into the crystal a couple of the 15 O's because I'm on the inside here. And then I can come up through this 11 here. So I have to kind of come up. And then I will go into this crystal and a couple more, like an 11 a crystal, 11 just doesn't matter how many, just sew through. And then I'm going to go underneath this crystal and this 11 right here and tie another knot. And make sure that it goes between the beads and not on top of them. And then I can just go down a few more on this side. I'm going through the 11 and the crystals. And you can just do that as many times as you want. Just move through your piece, making sure that you're following your original thread path. Don't cross or leave any thread on top of any crystals or 11 or 15 and then cut your thread off. Cut that off a little too long. And then I am just going to take my lighter and just burn that down, tuck it between my beads, and that's my finish. You can see the pattern, how pretty that is. Let me back off. When you put this on, as long as you don't twist your clasping, if you put your clasping on right, because this will turn so that this can lay right, like this, then this will lay really pretty on your neck, just the right way. Now mine actually turned out to be a little bit longer than 18 inches. I could have used it just a little bit shorter actually for my neck, but I did put it on and it lays really pretty. And I put it on before I finished my knot. I just went all the way through and then put it on to see how it was going to lay, to see if I needed to modify anything. And it really lays nice. I didn't find that it twisted badly or did anything weird, so it works out really nice. Now, I am going to put a couple of little dangles on here, so you can attach them directly to your little link here, your closed jump ring, or you can put a little chain, an extender. You can make it shorter and put a chain and extend, and then put your little embellishments on that chain. There's lots of different ways you can do this. I'm going to get a round nose plier, and I am just going to place it on like this. Place it on my wire. So I've dropped one of my crystals down on a head pin. I'm just going to bend this head pin over the top of my plier. I'm going to twist my wrist until my plier is in that bend I've created. I'm going to bring the wire over the top of the plier and then turn my wrist forward towards me, actually, so maybe not forward, but towards me. And as I turn my wrist forward, I'll bring this wire underneath the plier, and then I'll pull it out. And then I'll grab my flat nose pliers, hold on to that loop I just created, and wrap this extra wire around. And then I will just cut this off. And then I will need a jump ring to attach it to this jump ring. But I just decided that I didn't want to attach it directly. You can if you want to. You'll just have to slide it on your jump ring and then wrap. And then let me get some end cutters here. And I'll cut this off. And then I will get my chain nose pliers. And I will just tuck in this little extra piece of tail here. Gently, don't break your little cuboid or your Firepolish bead, whatever you're using. And straighten that up. And I will make this a little bit prettier, actually, because it's not very pretty. There, let's get this fixed. Tuck that in better. And then straighten up my loop here. That looks a little bit better. And I'm going to make another one of these and put it on a jump ring, and then I'll attach it here. After I've made my second one, I'll come back and show you what I've done. Okay, so I've gotten out a couple of small jump rings. I'm going to connect like 3 of the smaller ones together so I can connect it onto here, and then I'll put a bigger one with the 2 beads on so it kind of dangles a little bit. So I'm just grabbing a jump ring and I'm going to find where the jump ring opens. And so let's bring you forward. So my opening is right here, right there. And I'm just going to hold one side of the jump ring and then grab onto the other side and just twist that open. And I'm just going to connect a couple of jump rings. Then I'll close it the way I opened it. Make sure it's closed nice and tight. Make sure this jump ring is closed also. And then I think I'll open one more jump ring. And put it on the 2 that I connected. And close it. Make sure it's closed well. So that's a little dangle there. Then I'm going to open this bigger jumpring I have. So these are like 3 or 4 they're probably more like 3mm jumprings, and then I have like a 6mm jumpring, and I'm going to open it. And this is all optional. You don't have to do this. I just thought it might be cute. I'm dropping both of the little cuboids I wrapped on here. And then I'm going to put on those 3 jump rings that I connected and close this jump ring. Now I'm going to grab that first jump ring that I put on. Actually, I think I'll just grab another one, another small one, and I will open it, put it on my last small jump ring just like this, grab a hold of this jump ring, slide it on. I'm going to have to open it bigger because that's a thick jump ring. Slide this on that jump ring and close it. And I hope I was in camera. And you can see this is what I have now. I've just connected jump rings with a couple of little cuboids, and now I have a nice little dangle for the back of my necklace. Just a little extra thing. Let me straighten this out and I'll show you what it looks like. And this is what the finished piece looks like. I think it turned out really pretty. I really like it. And like I said, you could do one row of one color, or you could do just one color altogether, or you could do it kind of checkered like I did it. Then I think you can get a couple of different looks out of the same pattern. I think it's quite pretty. So go ahead and give it a try. Bye-bye.